Alrighty. Welcome everybody to AgencyTribe. I can't remember what number Ursh probably knows. I'd like to introduce Jonathan Hinshaw, founder of Revenue Love. Jonathan is a husband, father, businessman, entrepreneur, and sales training specialist. Many of you may remember Jonathan as a former BC partner and owner of Ebway Creative. This is, as an international business and sales expert, Jonathan has founded 3 successful businesses, even customized sales training programs for Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and entrepreneurs within the service and creative markets. Today, Jonathan is going to talk to us about how to build a brand cult and bring in clients you love. I can say, before meeting Jonathan many years ago, I hated sales. Now I love sales. So thanks, Jonathan. This is kind of open. Jonathan's got a slide deck to show. Feel free to chime in during the presentation if you want. Post your questions in chat and we'll hit those at the end if you want to do that. I do like it when people turn their cameras on. So if you're not shy during the presentation, or at least at the end, turn your camera on. So, and Ursh says it's number 8. We got to number 8. So anyways, Jonathan, take it away, man.
Awesome. Welcome everybody. So as Barry said, I kind of keep this open-ended, so if I go too fast or you guys have a question, feel free to interrupt me, throw a question in the chat if you feel like it can wait till later. But if I go too fast and you miss something, just stop me. Just say, hey, can you go over that again? Or, hey, you didn't go deep enough into that. I need to know more. So we'll just keep this very, very open. And we'll just kind of run through. So I would say before we get started, put your pens down, turn your email off, put your phone on silent. Just be present for like 20 minutes, maybe 25. Because this is some stuff that I believe will change your world. It will change how you look at everything. So I use the word brand cult. Some people use tribe and some people use other words, but a cult usually has a really strong following. Like they aren't leaving, right? So how to build a brand cult. And this is a slide deck that I made before I had Revenue Love. So I apologize that it doesn't look all polished and branded, but the content is still amazing, I promise. So let's first start with your brand and how you perceive it, right? You've got to own it. You've got to be who you are. So let's just back up and let's look at what entrepreneur even means. Because everybody here is an entrepreneur, unless you guys are sitting inside somebody else's office, or if you are and have a business on the side, you're an entrepreneur. That's a French word. It means to enter, to pioneer, to go where somebody hasn't gone before. It's a person who pays a certain price for a product to resell it in an uncertain price, at an uncertain price. It's an individual who organizes and operates a business, or businesses taking on financial risk. So you all are taking on financial risk, and sometimes we're not passing that risk along to our clients properly. First things first. So we know lowering our pricing is not the key to more sales. So I'm not going to tell you guys to do that today. There's a lot of lies that you have purchased that I want you to unlearn. Lies like the economy sucks versus I'm not participating, right? I've done better in shitty economies than I have in good economies. So I think it's our outlook, it's our approach, it's about our attitude. It's not about the economy, so to speak. Protecting your value, which for most of us in this room is our time, right? You're not getting any more of that. So protecting that, my favorite quote of all time is, are you rich enough to not waste time? If it costs you more money to bend over and pick up $1 than it does to keep walking, you probably made it, right? Are you rich enough to not waste time? That's a big one. And getting rid of your fear of rejection. So we're going to go over some stuff today. Get used to hearing no. Get used to people not liking you. Get used to people correcting you. It's okay. When somebody says no, just say, oh, why not? Like, I thought I did a good job presenting all of my value. Why don't you want to buy this? Your business is losing every day. I've got the answer. Why wouldn't you buy it? So I think that's the attitude is When I hear no, I'm usually surprised. I'm like, really? But I just covered everything you said you were having trouble with. Why would you not buy this thing? So remembering profit is king. It's not an option. You need cash and lots of it. I think we can all agree to that. So let's talk about building a brand cult. The big thing is, for starters, and Tracy has seen this before, what are you going to stand for? What are you going to stand for or against? Like, what is going to make you stand out? If you looked at some of my earlier marketing for my agency, Ebway Creative, it was very punk rock. It was very against the grain. We didn't spell anything right. Our grammar was terrible. We put ourselves out there as this is who we are. I have an 8th grade education. I've learned everything I know from the streets. I don't know what the rules are, which is why I'm successful, because I don't know what the rules are. I'm just doing all kinds of stuff. So I think knowing who you are, who you want to work with, and having something that you stand for. A lot of companies team up with nonprofits. That's great. A lot of companies are trying to push a passion mission of some kind, but you've got to get in line with standing for something. As an example, you've got the most famous brands of all time in our world, Microsoft and Apple, right? And when you look at Apple's commercials, they stood against big business, right? They stood against the stuffy guy in the suit just stacking money on the table. It was like you either identified as a Windows person or a Mac person. Can everybody kind of see that? In this room right now, some of you are probably Windows people. Some of you are Mac people. You're probably not changing anytime soon. They got you in their cult, right? I've seen tattoos of Apple on people, like just diehards. So if we think about that, we need to think about what could we stand for? What could we stand against? That is a big one. And I just saw chat light up, so I thought I'd check it out real quick. Half and half. Barry's a half and half guy. So there's another quote I like when we're dealing with sales and we're dealing with building a brand. And Henry Ford had this quote where he said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? If I ask my customers running an agency what they want, they'll say, I want 10 pages on WordPress that blah, 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 and all this technical stuff that they don't even know it's possible. Why am I asking them what they want? They don't know what they don't know, right? And so that's something Henry Ford came out with, going, man, why ask people what they want? Let's invent something that fixes the problem, and let's push that out there, because people truly don't know what they don't know. So why are we asking them? Why do we ask them what they want? If you want to create a brand cult, you just have to come out with the solution. Like, you have to say, here, you have this problem. Here's the solution. I have it, right? Not, how can we help you build a website today? How can we help you with your marketing? Those are the wrong questions, right? The better thing is get them talking, because you say, here, you got this problem. I've got this solution, right? And so niching is a good idea. Knowing your market is a good idea. But really, knowing who you're talking to is an even better idea, because if you want to get inside their head and have them trust you, they have to feel like you're empathetic towards their need. Does that make sense so far? So some of this is process. So we'll just cover a little bit of sales process. Marketing 101, 3 steps, right? Target. All of you guys probably know a little bit about targeting. Track what you're doing. Don't ever shotgun it. I've seen it so many times where people, they go into Facebook and they boost 20 posts, and they go to LinkedIn, they write an article. They go to Twitter and put 50 posts up, and they sit back and wonder what happened, and then they do it again a month later. And then they do it again. And they go, why isn't any of this shit working? It's because we didn't really target. We're not really tracking. We're just kind of shotgunning everything. And then make sure you're capturing the information, something, landing page, web form. I don't care what it is. Capture the details. And then you end up with this funnel, right? So you build your list of prospective clients, and then you sell to the list, and then you raise the entry fee. Like, this is the epitome of building a business. You sell your list, you raise the entry fee. The busier you get, the more rates you can charge, the higher you can charge, because you're busy. You can't take on new customers, right? And some of that will be in flux. Some of you might have 10, 15 customers that you make good money on, but it's just little bits here and there. You bring in a big customer, that might filter those guys out. You might level up and you can't keep everybody while you're leveling up. So this is something that I hugely believe in when we're marketing, especially if you want to build a brand cult. Punk rock marketing is about using pop culture to get in front of people and get in their heads a little bit. So this is probably the number one thing we did with Ebway in building our agency, and it's what I do as Revenue Love, using pop culture, right? You guys all understand like how to create an avatar, how to be specific, what problems do they have, how do I solve it? That you can get that information anywhere, but using pop culture will actually make that stick. It'll actually be like, oh, this person's the same as me. And this will also get rid of the problem most people have by saying, we sell websites for anyone that's age 18 to 85 living in the United States, right? Because none of those people will have the same pop culture that they grew up with. You know, great example, me and my wife. My wife is a little bit older than me. She looks 10 years younger, but she is older. And she had no idea who the Thundercats were. She didn't grow up with them. She's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Care Bears, Barbie, something like that. But she didn't know who the Thundercats were. But the people I'm targeting did, you know? And I don't care who Thundercats, Voltron, He-Man, like what, there's all kinds of pop culture references that you guys could use. Make sure that they engage your customers, you know? If you're going after the millennials, you know, if you're going after millennials, they're not going to know any of this stuff. Like, you're going to have to use way different pop culture. And if you're going after a more mature audience, they probably don't want you talking about cartoons, right? So you got to know your audience, know what you're headed towards. And then my biggest pet peeve I have with all this marketing stuff and driving sales is this multiple opt-in idea. This is terrible. When you run a Facebook ad, just as an example, you run a Facebook ad, they go to your landing page. What do? You send them through 15 other hoops to sign up for your newsletter? Just stop this double opt-in. When they get to my landing page, there's going to be value there, period. A download, a video, something of value before you give me your email address. I want to give value and earn the right to ask, if you liked this, awesome, now sign up for my newsletter, or now fill out this form and download something. So it's value first. And I've been doing a lot of research in creating my company, revenuelove.com. So I'm signing up for sales newsletters. I'm signing up for marketing things. Like, I'm just seeing what's out there. I can't tell, 99% of it is garbage. I get to a landing page and there's another landing page. And then I fill one out like, yeah, I'll take your download. And now all of a sudden I got another landing page with a video and it's only $7. And it never ends. And I'm like, wow, this is like a 37-step funnel. So they spent hours putting it up so they could irritate me, so I cancel them. You know, it's just not. And you guys have all seen this. If you just think about what you like and you think about, how did I get into that program? Why did I sign up for that? I bet if you think about those interactions, they were all easy. They were very easy. You felt good about it. So whenever we talk about building a brand cult, you're talking about sales, you're talking about marketing, you're talking about bringing the right people in. Let's give you guys a little bit of math so you have a barometer of how to do this, right? So how much, and these are internal questions. These are, just for you guys to think about, but how much would you pay for a new customer? For your ideal customer, how much would you pay for them? How much should you pay for a new lead, a qualified buyer? Not necessarily a sold customer, but how much would you pay for a new lead? Who knows, right? There's a mathematical equation we can use, though, to figure this out. And what I use is the lifetime value of my client. So I will take the average money that they spend, right? The average dollar amount that they purchase, times that by how many times a year they actually buy that thing, and times that by how many years they stay with you. So the lifetime value of a client, if I'm selling $1,000 product, would actually be $4,000. So I think this is where some of us mess up, where we do math, we look at things and we do calculator math, right? You go, oh, well, I'll spend whatever to bring in this new client because I'm going to make $1,000. I'll spend $250, or I'll spend $30, or I'll spend $50. When if you look at the lifetime value, what would you spend to make $4,000? right? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Or if you want to be super frugal, what would you spend to make 1,000? So that's where they call it a customer acquisition cost. That's where the math comes in. So you know, how much should I spend on a Facebook ad, or how much should I invest on bringing in new clients? You'll never know unless you know what the lifetime value of your customers is. So take a look at your past, 10 or 15 deals. Take a look at them, average out what you normally charge. Take a look at who's been a client for 2 years or more. What do they spend? It'll take a little digging, but if you look at 8 or 10 customers that have been with you for a while, you'll get an average, right? You'll get an average and you'll know what the lifetime value of your clients is. Does that kind of make sense so far? We're moving quick. All right, stop selling. Start persuading. This is a big deal. If you're going to have people following you, sooner or later, you got to sell them, right? It's no fun to just be famous on Facebook. You should probably make some money. So let's talk about how to stop selling and start persuading. What Barry said, right? Barry used to say he hates sales. I don't believe anybody hates sales. You hate not selling. That's the big deal. Here's what's cool about putting yourself out there. Just trying. 25% closing ratio is the norm. Like based on average selling skills, people that have never worked with me or watched a video like this, like just average salespeople, convert 25% of their leads into paying customers. You can trip over sales with this math. Like, what does that mean? That means if I call 100 people, I'll probably get 2.5 new clients, right? Maybe 3. So the math is easy. The math is super easy. Getting out there is not so easy. You've got to stand for something or stand against something. But the good news here, you guys don't have to be experts. You don't have to spend 3 years figuring out how to sell stuff. All you have to do is talk to people. The more conversations you have, the more that will lead into sales. So when you talk to them, there's a specific process. And this would be interacting with a new person from start to finish. And this is really, you set the tone for them to either join your cult or not, right? To join your tribe or not. This is when you get to set the tone. This is my sales pyramid. Cliff, I see here, right on. Thanks for showing up. I've shared this sales pyramid around the internet before, and we've had this for probably 10 years. Like, this is how we look at sales. And it sounds corny, but it's true. We start with love, right? What do I mean by that? I mean, I'm here to help them. I don't have any ego when I first meet somebody. I'm just here to help them. And realizing most people don't get loved. They get ripped off. So I've got to forgive them immediately for any pushback, for any weirdness. I'm going to love them. I'm going to forgive them for maybe being short with me, maybe even being rude on the first call, or, how do I know this is going to work? I don't know this crap or whatever. People get really weird on you when you're first meeting them. So you love them, you forgive them, and then show gratitude, right? So they've been hurt before. I would show them gratitude of, hey, thanks for telling me that it didn't work before, just realize I'm not that person, let's cut the cord. One of my favorite things to say is, have you ever had a bad meal? Did you stop eating? So I realize you had a bad experience building a website, doing marketing, creating copy, whatever your service is. I realize you had a bad experience with XYZ. That doesn't mean it was the wrong tactic. You probably just were with the wrong person, The other thing is grace. Most people are manipulative. Most sales guys, they don't even mean to be manipulative. There's a lot of sales guys out there that they don't like hearing no. They don't like confrontation. They want to be your friend. So they'll just kind of agree and say yes. And next thing you know, there's scope creep everywhere because they promised the client everything and you can't do everything. So I have grace towards that, they probably ran into some salespeople that overpromised and underdelivered. So I show them grace for that. The second to the last thing is the order. You always bring about the order. Like, this is where, if you just get this one thing today of every time you talk to somebody, bringing about the order, your sales will skyrocket. They'll skyrocket. It doesn't matter where you're at in the process, where you're at in the conversation. You always bring it about, right? You always mention it. So what you want is this. So what you're saying is this. So if we could provide XYZ, you're saying that would help you with ABC. Does that sound like a good idea? So you're bringing about the order. You're always talking about it to get them used to the understanding that you're about to pitch them. Does that kind of make sense? Most of us shy away from the order. We shy away from the money. We just want to stay in the good feeling discovery stage, right? No, bring about the order, bring about the budget, bring about the pricing, bring that stuff up often, because then it won't be a surprise. It won't be a shock. And last but not least, do what you say you're going to do. Honor them by doing what you say you're going to do. This is a double-edged sword. When I talk about honoring a client, honoring a cult member, honoring a tribe attendee, this is honor. Realizing that I need to do what I said I was going to do. That's one side of the sword. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. The other side of the blade is on me. Better not say stuff you can't do. You better not promise stuff you're not going to do. It's really easy to kind of get lost in those first couple of meetings of, oh yeah, that's great idea. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. And before you know it, you said yes to 3 or 4 things today that really weren't in your proposal, right? Or take this into your daily life. Clients email you. Clients call you. By the end of the day, you've said yes to little 5-minute tasks 10 or 12 times, right? You kind of overpromised yourself. Maybe you made yourself too busy by being nice. So the honor works both ways. We're going to do what we said we're going to do, but I'm also going to honor all my other clients by not giving you a bunch of extra work because you turn into a squeaky wheel. So the honor goes both ways. Most people will kind of use it in the wrong way, saying, well, I've got this tough client. They're just a squeaky wheel. They always need something, and I just do it for them just to shut them up because I don't want a problem with them. The problem with that is you're not honoring your current clients. You're not honoring the people that don't beg you for work, that don't give you a hard time. Those people, if anybody, they should be the ones getting extra attention, not the pain in the rear, right? So the honor goes both ways. Now, when you think about this next slide is a critical one, because when you think about creating a brand cult, most people are like, well, I don't really know what I stand for. I don't know what I stand against. It'll take a little thinking. So you might need an example. So Tony Robbins is a great example of the extreme example of his brand, right? If any of you guys are thinking about motivational speakers, Tony Robbins has got to come to mind. Like, he's probably the creme de la creme of motivational speaking. The guy he exemplifies motivation. So he became the extreme example of his brand. And that's what we need to do. Like, we need to become our brand, and Tracy, probably better than anybody with her branding experience, knows this comes down to clothing, language, culture, the tools you use. Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Where's your audience? And you become this extreme example of your brand, right? My brand is always break the rules, push through the door, get stuff done. Don't worry about spelling. Done's the new perfect, rock and roll. And I don't mean spelling on anything. I mean, usually social media stuff, right? Which is so side note, I had this thing on Facebook where it was a download. All you had to do was comment, I want it, and I would give you the download. Well, it had a misspelled word. I misspelled attempt. I don't care. The post is probably going to last a day, if anything. But after 15, 20 people said, I want it, I want it, I want it. One guy came. I've never met the guy. I don't know who he is. He followed my page out of the middle of nowhere, probably 24 hours into his Revenue Love experience. And his introduction to me, and the first thing he says is, you misspelled attempt. He didn't have the document, so I know he just zoomed in on the picture and saw it. So he didn't ask for the document. He didn't really do anything except kind of call me an idiot, right? Like, kind of came out negative. And I know he didn't mean to, but the way I looked at him was awesome, cool. So I misspelled a word. That bothered you. You can kick rocks. Like, I'm not here to bring in analytical people like that, and I'll do stuff in my marketing that will specifically piss off an engineer, right? Somebody that's an engineer, a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, it's like really highly educated. I'll do stuff that just sends them running away because I don't work well with that kind of corporate environment. So whether that's misspelling a word, which this day was on accident, or grammar, or throwing a photo up that's not perfectly cropped, we'll just do stuff. Half the time, I'm just putting myself out there, right? The extreme example of me, I'm going against the grain. I don't follow the rules. I've got really good information. If you want it, grab it. If you're going to worry about spelling and grammar, then go to Harvard Business Review. Like, go read a different article. Go read a different Facebook post, because you're not going to find that here. Here we're going to talk about sales, selling people. My dad used to say, don't ever let the details get in the way of a good story, right? So all those little details that we just drive ourselves crazy with, they're not critical. Those aren't critical details. So this is a testimonial or a quote, I guess, from Bob Hoffman. We don't get people to try our product by convincing them to love our brand. We get them to love our brand by convincing them to try our product, which is great. But how are we going to convince them to try our product if they don't feel like they're connected to us? If they don't feel like there's some synergy. And so that's where the brand cult comes in. That's where you becoming the extreme example of your brand comes in. That's where you put yourself out there as a unique player in a very crowded market. Does that kind of make sense with you guys? That's it. That's all I wanted to bring to you guys, was that high level thought process. So I was just going to check the chat to see if there's, Tracy's got Thundercats. I'm going to use Voltron next time.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. Anybody else here, you can feel free to unmute your mic and ask Jonathan anything.
Yeah, we went super fast, but I think that was good for you guys. Just kind of go quick through that stuff.
Absolutely. We have lots of time, so.
So everybody's just doing great with sales. No questions. No, I should probably be asking you guys for advice, because you're all doing amazing. There's got to be something frustrating.
So I wanted to ask about the lifetime value. When you talk about figuring out the lifetime value and what to spend on a customer, is that how much you spend in like Facebook ads, how much you spend in something that you send them as a little tchotchke to get their attention? Is that what you're talking about, is figuring out what the money you put back into your marketing? And
yeah. What's your marketing spend? And it'll take a little while. Like, it'll probably take 2 or 3, depending on how much marketing you do and how many clients you actually bring in. Over time, you'll get more data to say, okay, it costs me $500 right now to bring in a new customer, right? So I'm willing to do $500 on Facebook ads to see if I can bring in 1 or 2. So over time, you get that number. It's good to start thinking about it now, though, and go, well, if I could bring in a $10,000 deal and I'm going to make $7,000 on it, would I spend $1,000 to bring that person in? Would I spend $500? Would I spend $200? Where's your comfort level? But over time, you'll figure out the real number. But I think it's important not to do it on the single sale. It's important to do it on what's their lifetime value. That's the number you want to know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because the reason I asked that, because it's perfect timing for us, because we're looking at doing Instagram advertising, because that's where a lot of our niche people are all the time. So I'm trying to figure out, what I want to spend every month, what can I afford every month, and figure that out.
And you get really targeted, when you know who you're targeting and where they're at and what they like and all of that, you spend your money a little more wisely to actually know, okay, if I spend X, I get this. Probably one of the greatest examples, we had a partner we were working with that did a lot of Facebook ads, and he showed me, he said, look, this is where we're at when we spend $3,000 a month on Facebook ads, we bring in 3 or 4 customers. When we spend $7,000 a month on Facebook ads, we bring in 20. Like, it was way different. And their cost of acquisition actually went down because they had so many messages going out there. So they found a nice happy medium with what they wanted to spend. I think they came up with like $4,500 a month or $5,000 a month. Because that was too many, they did, the 15 customers that came in, that was too much to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. It does. And with the algorithms and everything, how a lot of that works, if you work to find that happy medium, got some questions here.
I have one, Barry.
Do you, Cliff? Go for it.
Thank you. Thanks for setting this up, Barry. So John, a two-part question. Both of these, I'm dealing with 2 sales scenarios. Both of them are clients. One has signed a $24,000 project. They're a great client, but they're just so busy they don't have time to move the project forward, right? So there I have the money. They just have the time. So what would you do in that scenario? That's one. And then the second one is I have an existing customer who has a legacy site. They've been dragging their feet on, in essence, revamping, and I'm about to fire them. But before I do, I wanted to do one last pitch on, hey, if you can't invest in a new site by the end of next quarter, we're letting you go. So,
are you going to say it just like that? You're out.
Well, yeah. Well, with a little more finesse. So, what are your thoughts?
So let's start with that one, the legacy client, because I dealt with a lot of those, especially with all the movements and shifting of software. So the legacy client message is super simple. I think it's I make it more about us than about them. Okay. So we're going in some different directions. I'm super excited to talk to you about what we're offering. And one of the things we're doing is requiring our current clients to ramp it up a little bit. We need to be whatever, you could use whatever features you want to use, like the GDPR or the responsiveness or whatever their site doesn't have now that they need. Yep. It could be we're leveling all of our clients up, and this is our standard. So we want to bring you up to standard. If that's not something you're interested in, or you don't want to go forward with that, let us know, and we'll recommend a couple other agencies for you that can help you with where you're at. But if you want to level up, we're the company. Does that kind of make sense?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's about making it about you. You're leveling up. You're bringing everybody up to a certain standard. The ones that don't want to come up can go somewhere else.
Fair enough. And we started with, this was an old Joomla site. So we told them you got to kind of move, and we're only working with WordPress now. So, okay, that works. I'll frame it up.
So now the time, so this is there one person you're trying to meet with, or is he trying to do group calls with you?
You're speaking about the client that's paid but just doesn't have time?
Yeah, the one that doesn't have time.
So I'm working with the owner's daughter, and they're a $50 million company. So, and she's handling it. So she has an assistant, but if she doesn't move her feet, the assistant doesn't move. And so it's been about 2.5 months.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm almost kind of happy. I think this is where your sales pyramid comes in, and selling a service you're happy about, offering that delivers value. So they're an existing customer paying a retainer. They paid us money, and so I'm kind of trying to do my due diligence. It's less maybe about sales, but more about serving.
Yeah, well, I think it's too about being candid and really transparent. Having that conversation, that tough conversation. That's like, hey, if you are, we're on a time scale here. We need to get these things done, or we can't get to these things. And just letting them know, a 2-day delay or a 3-day delay translates into 2 or 3 weeks in my world. So sooner or later, there's almost a little scare tactic, right? Sooner or later, we're going to run into bouncing into other projects. And my concern is you won't get the kind of attention you deserve because it would have taken us too long to get there.
Yep.
So how can I help you leverage your time better so we can get this stuff done? Because I only need you for a little bit, and then I can go and do my thing. But how do I help you leverage your time to get me on your calendar so we can at least cover the basics? Otherwise, this project could fail.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Trying to keep you from failure.
Yep, exactly. Make it more about them and their success versus I need them to move forward. Okay.
Yeah, it's not about the money. It's not about me feeling good. It's really about them. It's like, hey, you guys, you're dragging your feet and you're going to miss an opportunity. This isn't about ROI anymore. This is about the cost of inaction. This is about COI. What's it costing you to not have this stuff in place? That's the true price. That's what you're paying is your cost of inaction. So we could have already been done, had new leads, or whatever it is, right? We could have been done and had this new positive story. Right now, your story is very negative. Like, this is not a good story.
Got it. I think, Tracy, you work with construction companies, right? So this is one of them. So they usually have the money, they just don't have the time. So
yeah, and
right,
I've dealt with daughters. I've dealt with daughters of owners, and one had a design degree but had never actually used it, besides making herself happy. So she felt like she was a designer. And I'm like, if you've never had to make somebody else happy with design, I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. It was really rough. She spent a lot of time crying on our call because she was so stressed. So I feel your pain, dude.
I see a question in here. Yeah, you got it, Cliff. I see something in here from Alexandra. But is Alexandra still here? She says, I always have a hard time with the front end of the sales process. You want to, what do you mean the front end? Is that like getting them on the phone, or is that when you're on the phone, Alexandra? The phone. So your first interaction, is that what you mean? Just you're now kind of moving through the sales process. This is the first time you ever talk to somebody? Okay. All right. So what you need is something to talk about to remove your anxiety. You need a tool. And so my favorite tool is called a playbook.
Okay.
And we've made a lot of playbooks. There's a lot of examples out there. But the playbook, and I think anybody that's worked with me one-on-one knows, that is the number one tool, because the playbook, it has stuff about you, stuff about the clients you work with, and it might even have some pricing in it, or at least ranges. So we typically work with this range or what have you. But having that playbook, or what it used to be called was a capabilities document, back in the design days, in the print days. But this playbook gives you a format. So you have a plan. So you start with, let me learn about you. Let me tell you about us. Let me show you this. And you're catching all of their attention. If you do like a Zoom meeting, you show them the playbook, you're talking about the playbook. So not only are they seeing and they're hearing, they're talking with you. So you're hitting three of the major, informational data gathering spots a human has. So they're going to retain that knowledge a lot better. They're going to listen to you a little bit stronger because you're actually showing them something. So you're taking their attention. But I think that would give you a plan. That would give you you could see what you're talking about and what you're talking about next, and it would get rid of all of the weird, well, tell me about you and tell me who you've worked with and all, it's here, it's in the doc. Let's spend time talking about your business. Does that make sense, Alexandra?
Yeah, I mean, once I get going on a conversation, I'm usually okay.
It's that first 30 seconds.
The first 30 seconds, I get killed. It's so uncomfortable. And I'm actually very comfortable just showing up at somebody's office, which you can do here in Maine, and people kind of like it. And just show up and see if I can get a conversation. And lots of times I can. Or I get in and get enough of conversation so that they say, well, maybe I can meet with her again later. We'll schedule time to sit down and have a real meeting. So that can work. It's very time consuming in that you're driving from place to place, but I can get in the door. I think part of it is here in Maine, a lot of people have been ripped off. And so if they can kind of look you straight in the eye, the trust develops a little quicker than if I call them on the phone. Because they get a ton of phone calls. I get a ton of phone calls, I get a ton of junk emails, and they're no different. So,
I've heard that about Maine. Maine's very face-to-face.
Very face-to-face. And they don't have much of a trust value for people outside of Maine. And that's just the way it is. But I'm also going to be working with clients outside of Maine because funds are kind of limited here. And people generally take the entire summer off. No kidding.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get somebody to make a decision in the summer. So I have to, at some point, make some phone calls because I need to reach people outside the state so that we're busy all year round. And so that's where the phone calls are going to be tough. And I'm starting to run more Facebook ads, which I haven't done much up to this point. But we're working with a couple of niche markets. And I think if I do it right, I can reach the right people. We've now got a client in Virginia, she's been terrific. And I'd love to work with more clients just like her. She found me online.
Nice.
So it's turned into a terrific relationship. And now I'm part of her whole team. So when she sends an email out to her team down there, her marketing team, like videographer and photographer, that sort, I'm on the list. So I'm really enjoying that part. If I could clone that customer, that client, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, you can. Write down all their traits, characteristics, location, what they like. Most people do avatars all wrong. The ideal client profile, they do demographics and revenue and all this stuff. And not that that's not important basics, but what kind of sunglasses do they wear? What kind of car do they drive? Are they married? Do they have kids? Where are they located? They live in the suburbs? They live in the city?
Yeah.
I want to know about who they really are, because then I can probably get in front of them. If I know as an example, let's say I'm going after a small business owner that likes European cars, Ray-Ban sunglasses, and whatever, Rockstar jeans. I don't know, whatever. I can find that guy on Facebook because I can say, here, I'm looking for people that like these groups, these brands, this stuff, located in this area. Yeah. And now I've got like a super profile. It's not just location, revenue type of business. Now it's because there's an ideal company profile or like a market or a niche, but the ideal client profile is different. That's the personal information. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can find it.
Yeah, and so I'm actually going to pursue some more clients just like this one in Virginia. And I used to live in her same community for 7 years. So that helped a great deal.
Nice.
There, so that worked very well.
Yeah, finding what they value is important. Like for me, when I was doing mine, I was looking at all the clients that I love, that I look forward to picking up the phone call when I see caller ID, and the ones that I didn't. Like, what were the characteristics of their personality? And the ones that I enjoyed were the ones that valued skill. The ones that, and that's what led me to more construction and people who build stuff, because they value skill. They have aesthetics, they have taste. Most of them have families, so their understanding of certain family things that I've got to deal with. There's characteristics that I love. They had sense of humor. They're not going to be offended when I let some words slip out. There's certain things about them that I want. I need to be someone to be able to have a good sense of humor, because if they're dry and boring, I'm not going to want to work with them, and I'm not going to do my best work. Right. So what do you need from your clients for you to do your best work? And it's more than a face and a checkbook.
Right.
Yeah, and Alexandra, you commented about meeting face to face. I fell in love with Zoom. I have clients that I don't talk to them on the phone. We meet on Zoom face to face. Ursh posted a comment in here about there's a process I have seen where you walk through a quote document via something like Zoom or Skype. I've done that. I don't send the proposal to them, and we'll share screen and I'll walk through it page by page, but also bring up other like websites and things I need to show them and share that. And it works really well. It's actually sometimes better than face to face.
That could work outside Maine when you go for those other clients.
Yeah. Well, that's what we did with Virginia. I have yet to meet them. I've never been down there since. So the whole meeting was through Zoom. I have a couple of clients here in the state, and it takes me 45 minutes to drive there. It takes too long. So we've been using Zoom meetings. They've never done that before. They thought it was pretty cool. So it's worked quite well.
I've never had anybody complain about it. Everybody's always like, oh, this is super cool. It's like you're sitting right here. Right. They've always liked it. And I always present it like, I'm saving your time. This is now our hour-long meeting. It's just an hour. It's not 20 minutes of driving or 30 minutes of that or whatever. It's just an hour.
Yeah, and we can get all this stuff done.
So, and I just wanted to hit Ursula's thing because she says many people expect instant results with marketing.
Yes,
Who sells marketing services? Every month you charge customers. Okay. I'm about to change how you present your marketing. This is very important. When we used to sell SEO or PPC or anything that had a recurring price to it, the pitch was different. It was, this is a 12-month program. We're just letting you pay for it month to month. So you cannot hit me up on the 30th of every month and ask me what's going on, right? This is a 12-month program. You're paying for it on a monthly basis, especially if it's SEO or something more long-term. Maybe you could do it, 3-month program, 6-month program, 9-month, however long it takes you to get them to level up, whatever your package includes. That's the price of the program. That's the price of the whole thing. But the monthly installments, they're just installments, right? You don't pay me $1,000 and get 30 tasks, and then pay me $1,000 and get 20 tasks, and pay me $1,000 and get. That's not how the math is done, right? We're doing $12,000 worth of work. You just get to pay $1,000 a month. Does that make sense for you guys? Does that help?
Yeah,
It does. And I stopped using retainer because that made it sound like I was their bitch. And so I went to using the word program, because if you're in a program, it's a different expectation and a different feeling than a retainer. Like, I get to use you for whatever the hell I want. Yeah, no, it's not like that.
Yeah.
So I banned that.
Has anyone come back to you and said, well, okay, we'll pay you the 12 grand at the end?
I never had that. The question I did get was, if I pay you 12 grand now, can I have a discount if I prepay?
Yeah. Yeah, because if they were going to pay at the end, that's me taking all the risk.
Yeah.
right.
All the business risk. And I'm not willing to do that. And I'm also, I'm basically preloading, I'm loaning them money by doing that.
Yeah.
So they're asking me for a loan.
Right.
And I'm not in that business.
So yeah, the best answer when they say, can we pay for it at the end? Absolutely. Why don't you put it on your Amex card or your MasterCard or your Visa and make payments to them? Sure. You can absolutely do that.
Tracy, you're not a bank?
No,
I used to tell them, I'm not a bank. I don't loan money. And I used to even tell them, I'm a small business. I don't finance other people's projects. If I have to take money out of my pocket and pay for a project, that project needs to go away, period. So if you guys want to come in, that'd be great. Just there is some, what do you call it? The word is escaping me. Risk, right? Yeah, there's some risk. But what business owner doesn't take risks every day? Like, it's just silly to ask me to fund your project. So what you're actually dealing with, Scott, if that ever comes up, it's a trust issue. They don't believe you.
What about the ones who want the discount up front?
Pay for it up front. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I'll give them a discount.
I'll give them a discount. Yeah. You want to pay me today? Give me 10 grand. That way you get 2 months free.
Right.
Or if you want to pay me today, it's 12,000, and it includes these bonuses, right? Like, I'll give you extra, so you're not discounting. Because you have to validate everything. So I'm not a huge fan of discounts, but money talks, right? If somebody says, I'll give you 10 grand for 12, I'll take it, but I got to justify it. I got to say, well, we can absolutely do that because you're saving us on admin costs, invoicing, it's a one lump sum, so we don't have all the credit card fees happening. So you're actually saving us a lot of money. I really appreciate it. Let's do it for 10 grand instead of 12. Right.
I could see somebody, though, with the whole PTSD issue of previous agencies saying, well, I've done this kind of thing before and nothing ever showed up. Like, they weren't able to perform. How do I know you can perform? I'll pay at the end, kind of thing, after you prove to me you can perform. I could see somebody saying that. I don't know how I would answer that, but.
And some of those people will never find a good agency to work with, because that is how I would answer that. Is I would say, I totally get that. And if that's what you're looking for, there's plenty of college kids that are practicing that would do that. There's plenty of freelancers that you can work with. But we've been doing this for 15 years. We know what we're doing. And I'm sorry you got hurt in the past, but that wasn't me.
Right.
I don't work for that company. And if our client testimonials and the way I've taken you through this process hasn't earned me a little bit of trust, we're probably just not a good fit. I would back away. I would kind of run away from them a little bit, and they'll either chase you or they'll leave, right? They'll either say, oh, okay, Tracy, you know what? Okay, let's do it, right? They'll either do that or they'll leave, and you probably shouldn't have worked with them anyway.
Yeah, and both of those options are great, because if I turn somebody, if how I interact with them, they go the other direction, that's wonderful, because that just saves me from a pain in the ass client.
Yeah,
because
I try to educate them too. Like I used to have I had this graphic that showed all the tactics: SEO, PPC, content marketing, email marketing, text messaging, like showed everything. And then way above that, it said strategy, market, custom, right? All of that. And so I'd show them that, and I would say, this is why it didn't work, because you went and you hired somebody to SEO your website. So they tactically did it, but you had no strategy, no research, no plan, no architectural document, no discovery. They probably just said, okay, cool. What 10 words do you want me to optimize? And you don't even know what the best ones are. So you jumped to tactic and you had a bad experience. We don't do that. That's a good way to answer it too. Barbara says, some clients are never happy. That's true. If you're dealing with like Eeyores, fire them. I don't work with Eeyores. I don't work with jerks. I don't work with people that treat me like an employee, right? You got to have your level, your bar. Be like, this is where I'm at, and seek those people out.
Yeah, I call it a velvet rope policy. So in the beginning, or when you're broke, it can be a little bit looser. But as you start getting clients, you make that tighter and tighter and tighter of what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing not to put up with. And what really defining what clients need to bring to the table so you do your best work. And, you know, everybody's got their criteria of what they need.
Mm-hmm. When Ursula brought up a good thing here, she says, does anybody do the small wins approach before the retainer to help them get over the leap of faith? I would say we probably did that in a way when we sold Discovery, you know, so it was, hey, rather than coming up with a $20,000 project and having to, you know, swallow that price, let's start out with, we called it our intensive. Let's start out with our intensive program. It's only $2,000. That way you can see how we work, get a strategy. We'll actually deliver everything you need. We'll tell you the software, what needs to happen. We give you all the answers. So you could probably take that to another agency and say, quote this. That's fine. I don't really care because I don't work at that other agency, so you won't be able to get me. But we'll give you all the answers. We'll give you an architectural document of what needs to happen, and it'll have pricing and timeline, all of it for just a couple of grand. If you decide to go with us, then I'll take that $2,000 off the final price, because we'll already have a plan. We'll already have everything dialed in. So it's a win-win, right? It's a little bit of cash up front to get your strategy and your plan. And then if you decide to go with us, great. We'll just credit that back from your project. That's an example. I know Ursula was mentioning the small wins. So that's one that I would use. It's also a trust thing. You know, if they're not willing to invest and they're not feeling like they want to go with you, we got to figure out where to build the trust. Like, what's going on that they don't believe you, right? I don't think I have one for this example. All right, I need you guys to use your imagination, okay? I want you to pretend, I should have had money up here. Pretend like this is a $20 bill. But pretend like it's a $100 bill. It's a $100 bill, and let's pretend like we're all in a room and I could actually hand this to you. Who wants it? Now who wants it? All right, stick it on the ground, step on it, still $100 bill. Who wants it? Did it ever lose its value?
No.
It didn't lose its value. Doesn't matter how much I stepped on it, how much I crinkled it up, it's still worth $100, right? And I think that's important for us to remember as salespeople. No matter what happens, I still have value. So if people are not accepting that, if they're like, prove it or whatever, maybe I don't want to work with them. that might be something. Or maybe I just haven't given them enough reasons to trust me, because that's a no-brainer. I'm holding up a $100 bill. Who wouldn't want it? Like, it's a no-brainer. That's how our proposals should go. Like, it should be, oh, that's a no-brainer. We talked about the budget. You're giving me everything I wanted. Perfect. Where do I sign? Let's get started tomorrow. Like, it should be that easy. So if you run into those objections at the end where you're presenting price, or you're running into those objections in the middle of your sales process, we need to find ways to preemptively strike those things, right? Every industry has their reasons for not wanting to hire people or whatever, but the preemptive strike helps a lot with that by saying things like, we've had clients that, didn't want to pay till the end. They wanted like a proof of concept first. And let me tell you why we don't do that, and you hit that stuff head on, it's no longer an issue. Barry?
I wanted to say something or what? Couple things. The quick wins, Hirsch made account, you addressed that with discovery. We're doing some local SEO citation building stuff that's a really low barrier to entry. It is a month to month, but we found that we can show results. The customer gets some, they get used to us. We build some trust with that. And then hopefully we lead into other things like web development, which we have because we can show other stuff with that. I had something else I was going to say. Now I forgot.
Everybody's so quiet today. Like, everybody's just kind of kicking back.
Yeah, we've had some people come in since you did your presentation. Let me see. Oh, I know what I was going to say. One thing that we're working on is trying to write better copy, come up with better ways to explain things. So it's more of and I've heard people say done for you is a bad thing to think about, but I want the client to go, awesome, you get me, you're going to do this, you're going to take care of me, and deliver an awesome product. I mean, we sold 3 of the local SEOs in the last 2 weeks. And
I'll take credit for that. Good job.
Thank you. But it was fairly easy sell because they knew that they didn't have to do a ton of work, but we basically showed them that we could deliver results. So
and how did you show them?
We had some examples with other clients where we showed them what happened with data from Google Analytics and other information that we could do that. And that's interesting you say that, because we were last night, the Platform OS people have a group called Town Hall, and they had a guest on there, Kevin Cohen. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, he was on last week. I'm sorry, last Thursday. And he talked a lot about, building websites and selling websites, and the fact that a website is just a yard sign if you don't drive data to that, drive traffic to that. Mm-hmm. But you can't just drive traffic to that. You got to look at the data and the KPIs and all that. And it was very interesting what he had to say. And I can say that being able to show the results is huge.
And what we did, so when I started selling SEO for Ebway, we didn't have anything to show anybody. It was like, how are we going to sell this? So we used other data that was out there, screenshots from HubSpot, screenshots from Moz. We'd make PDFs about how to properly do it. We were really just sharing our own internal stuff as we were learning. Mm-hmm. And I remember our proposal was just a lot of other people's research that we put in there to say, look, this works because of this and this works. If HubSpot says it works, and we know how to do it. And we actually sold a lot of jobs like that when we were starting out. We'd tell them, you're some of our very first customers we're bringing in, so we're bringing you in on a deal or whatever. But by the time we had 5 or 6 that we could point to, and it didn't even matter what industry they were in, we could just say, look, we did this, 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 and this. I mean, the one that made us most famous, it was the crappiest site I've ever built. It was because they wanted this, they were just sticky about the site. So we ended up giving them like the most this is like when Business Catalyst had those simple templates. They picked a template from the and I was like, no, we don't use those. And they're like, yeah, that's the one we want. So you think it's just the worst website ever. And all of a sudden, 7 days later, they're on the first page of Google for their top keyword. And they're filling, it was a horse training company. They're filling the barn. They're filling their lessons. Like, they're super ecstatic. It happened in a week. That's not the norm, but I would use that all the time. I would tell people, look, call Andrea and ask her what happened. I'm not saying that it'll happen to you in a week, but we've done it before. So we could probably do it again. And whether it's a week or a month or a year, she has made 10,000% ROI over her investment. So obviously we know what we're doing. And that one little case study was how we sold deals for like a year.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is it doesn't take a lot of them. I know a lot of you guys sitting here are probably thinking about going into niche markets or offering marketing or offering something you've never done before. I'm just telling you, you don't have to have 5 websites in a niche before you can say you know what you're talking about. You don't have to have 5 SEO amazing stories before you sell it. I'm always a fan of go find the customers and then figure it out. Do what you said you're going to do.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because Leanne and I had a conversation this morning about imposter syndrome and taking and getting into, because I've had a lot of customers come to us and say, hey, we want to do Facebook ads, we want to do this, we want to do that, and so we know we need to get into that space. We just don't know how. Figuring out how to do that is the big thing, because I don't want to be a Facebook expert, but I do know 25% more than my customers, so I can talk to it a lot. So I've kind of gotten over that imposter syndrome in that case.
Well, and they're already down to tactic, right? So I think that's where you back them up and say, hey, totally get it. You want to do Facebook ads? Cool. That's at the tactical level. You need to go through my discovery process so we can put the right strategy together. And then if you choose us to help you with Facebook ads or you choose somebody else, it will work. It doesn't really, because you'll have a strategy. You'll know what you're doing. So let me do that. And I know that's where you want to live, Barry, is in that strategy area.
Absolutely.
So pitch that. That's the most important thing, because I can go anywhere and get somebody to create Facebook ads. But the how, the why, the where, the how much, that's all the brain work that requires you to really think about stuff rather than just the posting of the ads, right?
Oh, exactly. And that's why I think when I was feeling the imposter syndrome before I was thinking, I need to know how to do all of this. I need to have done it.
I don't know how to do anything. Like, I don't. So you guys are aware, I ran a full service web agency for 15 years. If you sat in a room and talked to me, you would think I know everything about websites and marketing that there is. I didn't know jack shit about how to build a website, do coding, touch CSS. And customers used to ask me very technical questions, and I'd say stuff like, let me ask David on the team, because I hire people way smarter than I am to do all that technical stuff. So let me ask David and I'll get back to you. But I didn't have a background of websites, technology, or anything really. I just knew how to find the right people, find the right people, put them in the right.
Blows my mind. Because Marama's the same way. She was, she doesn't know how to build websites. She's not a coder. She's not, and it blows my mind, where I have the mindset of, I need to know how to do it and be able to do it before I can hire it out, and it's crazy.
Oh yeah, Trace. I am same here. I'm starting to get over that, but
I'm the exact same.
Yeah. Because I'm a bit of a unicorn.
Stupid
so
going into a room saying, like, this is what you should do, and not knowing how to do it.
Yeah. So I don't know if that just takes huge cojones or, ability to bullshit, or do you just know you can find the right people? So I guess I've been screwed over enough that I don't want to put my reputation on the line if I don't either know how to do it or I don't have somebody in the lock to be able to do it for me.
Oh, like have like a resource already in place.
Yeah, because I feel anxious if it's something that I have no ability to jump in and fix. Like that brings me anxiety that I just can't jump, because I'm so used to being a self-performer that I've got to get out of that to, not that I want to scale big by any means, but I definitely want to sit in the strategy role most of the time and get out of the other roles. But yeah.
Yeah, Trace, that's where I want to be. Sales and strategy and not doing, not heads down.
Yeah. We're doing, just not with our hands.
So let me ask you this, Tracy. What was one of those services that you would not want to offer? What was one of them?
Oh, like app design.
SEO or
no
something?
freaking way. Yeah.
Okay. App design.
App development, in-depth development. Because, so I did hire someone to do development of a tool within a site that I have. That was a year ago. They came back to ask me a question. No freaking clue. No idea where that programmer is. No idea what he did. So that's the stuff that just is just like, ugh.
Do you think you could strategically help me plan a web app though?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I could do all the UI, UX, planning, the strategy, all that kind of stuff, and then hire that shit out. Yeah, I could. But it's if I could get to the point where I could build these things, I'm so used to having clients for a long period of time and maintaining that relationship and building things for my future self and all that. So I'm building something that I can't fix later. I've got to go hire somebody else to fix.
Yeah. Well, and that might be a business decision too. You know, you might not want to take on those jobs. So because we can't be a jack of all trades, then we're a master of none.
Right.
So there were certain things, even in the SEO world, that we didn't do. You know, like we were very upfront about, this is our recipe for SEO. It's not necessarily everybody's, but this is our recipe. And then I was really transparent with them, going, we've done this 5 or 6 times, and so far it's working really good. Yeah. But that's why we're not $5,000 a month. So if you want to go with somebody that's done it 100 times or 1,000 times, that's fine. But you are going to
couch it, because I've done PPC and SEO, and I've been screwed by both, and I've had good experiences with both. But I've had a lot the other direction, where clients paid a lot of money, and it's my reputation on the line, and then the other people have kind of just dialed it in. You know, it just wasn't what they said.
We have to find really good people and put them around us. That's probably that's one of the most important things I did for Ebway is I follow the Ronald Reagan theory, right? I don't have to know anything.
Trust but verify.
Smart people around me, then I don't have to know anything. But yeah, I think it's important to have like a black book of people, you know, SEO, PPC, web design, development. You're always building that book. You know, even if you're not hiring or looking for somebody, we can always say stuff like, we're getting ready to scale, you know, and as soon as we scale and get into some growth mode, I'd love to reach out and see what you have to offer. We can always do that kind of stuff.
Testing with client money has been testing people out, because a lot of people can talk, like that company, they talked a big game, but didn't really show it. So
and it's going to be, there'll be some hit and miss unless you actually find. So there's a difference with like a subcontractor or freelancer than an employee, because if you have an employee, they have to do what you say. They have to show up on time, but you lose a lot of control in that subcontractor area. Yep. But I mean, first thing I ever did was just reach out to everybody I knew, you know, or even sites online that I noticed, man, they're always on the first page. I'd go down to the little design by and click that and reach out to those guys. And hey, do you do white label? Like, you guys are killing it. And some do, some don't, you know, and that kind of thing.
Cool.
But yeah, you have to have a passion for it too. Like you can't offer SEO and not have a passion for SEO, because you do have to know at least the basics to talk about it. Right?
Of course.
And you're not going to know if you don't care, you don't have a passion for the service that you're offering, you probably won't stay up to date on it. You won't educate yourself on it. And
Right.
It'll be a great service for 6 months until you don't know what changed, and then it'll fall off.
Sure. Which might be another pro item in the pro column for dumping the whole marketing and doing what I do and then saying goodbye. Come back to me for strategy and big changes, but they don't need to be an ongoing client for 18 years.
Yeah. Well, I think you could really, all of us can have ongoing clients at a very simple level of just, we're your outsourced marketing team, or we're your outsourced CMO. We'll do a call with you once a month, twice a month. We'll look at your analytics.
Right.
We'll make decisions. We'll keep me in the strategy seat. I'll sit next to you.
Yeah.
And when you do all this other stuff, I'll guide you,
Right.
You figure stuff out. And that can be a really good recurring model to have, because you're not really doing anything or delivering anything. You're just guiding, which is a great place to be.
I haven't charged for just that one part. I've charged for that and SEO and hosting and
Right.
a bunch of other PPC and a bunch of other stuff. And that was part of it. I haven't charged just for that.
Yeah, we always had it as an add-on. It was $500 a month for one strategy call a month and one marketing audit a month, and we would just meet with them on a monthly basis and then go over all their numbers. And I would make them feel special. Like, I wouldn't just open Google Analytics. We created dashboards and Sife.
Right.
Made stuff look really fancy for them. Tie in some other things and. Almost get my hooks in enough to where they were like, well, this is super valuable. Like, John goes over everything,
Right. Yeah.
Good
and they're
stuff.
used to the sexy. Yep.
Yeah. The sexier it is and the nicer it is to use and look at, we usually get most of our clients after they were onboarded and after they really saw what we had. The biggest stuff they would always say was, we never saw anything like this with other people we worked with. They didn't do anything like this. They didn't have these documents that you have. Like, this is really nice.
Yeah.
What else we got? How are we doing on time, Barry?
We got about 15 minutes. We usually go an hour and a half. If we can shut it down now, if nobody else has got any questions.
Everybody's so quiet. I bet everybody without their camera on is probably doing emails on their
Busted.
iPad. Except for Urs. We know Urs is not on her email.
She's running in stealth mode today.
Look, and Paul Higgins is over there, like, he's in Australia. He's got to have something to talk about, but he's hiding.
Oh, it's 8:46 a.m. for them, so at least it's not the crack of dawn.
Yeah. You guys want to go over rebuttals? Throw an objection at me and I'd tell you what I would say. Barry's recording this.
Can we get a copy of this, Barry?
The whole world will get a copy of this. This is
Right.
Trust me. Jonathan, I'd love to hear that. Scott, yes, this will get put on. We have a YouTube channel, and it'll get put in the group as well.
Okay, great.
Watch it 100 times if you'd like. Get those views way up for us. But yeah, I'd love to hear some rebuttals. Come on, people. I'm not Tracy and I are talked out.
Yeah, and I do have to run, but I definitely going to catch the rebuttal part on the replay.
Bye, Tracy. So what do you guys run into the most?
We don't think you have enough experience in our area.
Oh, good one. Good one. So my favorite thing to say to that, I kind of make a joke of it a little bit. Do you deal with humans? Do they breathe? They breathe air? If you deal with humans that actually breathe air, I'm sure I can help you, because there's a way humans make decisions. There's scientific evidence of what works and what doesn't work, and how we speak to each other and how we communicate. So I'm absolutely positive that I can help you. What exactly do you think is so unique about your industry that you want me to have in my skill set? When you say you don't feel like I know enough about your industry, what is so unique that you feel it might escape my ability to help you, Scott?
Well, it's the type of people that we deal with.
Humans that breathe air?
Well, no, it's just a certain segment of the population. We're dealing with one example that I have actually come up against is a mortgage broker that said, well, you know, we're dealing with a lot of immigrants from Iran right now, and you have to understand the language and the culture.
You have to understand the language and culture from Iran, or where are they from?
Yeah, from Iran.
Okay. Do you understand it, Scott?
No.
Okay. Well, no, pretend like you're the
I
client.
understand their history, but I don't understand their culture.
So this is where I would probably defer to, look, we've helped all kinds of people build businesses. So I realize there's some hesitation because of where your customers are coming from, and it's a different part of the world. I get all that. We're simply going to use all the things we learned in these other industries to help you. You know, I'm going to take the knowledge that I learned from building 1,500 websites, doing this for 15 years, working on sales, marketing, whatever. Like, I'm going to take all the knowledge that I've gathered and I'm going to bring it to you, right? That's what we're basically doing. And maybe the mortgage broker might be a tough one. You know, if I got to know the language and all that, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to learn the language. I've got enough to do. But when you'll hear that a lot, like if you go into a niche market, you know, and say it's like a dentist or something, they might ask you, so show me 5 dentist sites that you've done in the past. Like, I want to see what you've done. That's a pretty common one. And that's when I go to you'd be the first, you know, we don't have any other dental sites. I would just hit it right. That's okay. We don't have any. What I do have is these other 52 sites that we built, and these 10 that do really well, and these 5 that do amazingly well. And we're going to take all that knowledge and bring it in. I'd love to hear from you, Mr. Dentist, what you think makes a successful website, what you're interested in. And, you know, we're interested in this market. I think we can bring a lot of value here, and you'd be one of the first ones we'd onboard. Act as if it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
It's just not a big deal. It does get easier though if you do have a niche market, and you do have the 5 sites, and you do have a testimonial or 2. It just makes your sale that much easier. But it's not impossible to make them without that. Why not is my favorite. Why? We don't think that you're a good fit for us. Why? Because you don't know the language. Do I have to know the language? Do you want a bilingual? I'm not sure there's anybody in the United States that can bring you the help that you need, because I don't work for any other companies. So you're not going to get my experience and my stuff. And I'm pretty sure if you hire somebody that speaks both of those languages, they're probably not good at something. They're probably not a full service web designer that works in the United States. They're probably, who knows what you're going to get. Like, that's just kind of is a weird reason to not hire somebody, you know? So what else is going on in that industry that I could help you with? Does that help, Scott?
Yeah, it does. My initial reaction to it when I came across it was, you know, perhaps you should deal with somebody in your own community.
Yeah. And you can. Like, I love running away from people because they always want what they can't have. So if I'm running away, they're like, whoa, wait, what, you don't want my money? Like, what? Because they're not used to that. You know, they're used to people chasing them down. So I have no problem going, you know, maybe you should use somebody else. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, you figure if they're coming up with objections right off the bat,
yeah,
you know, then how far is this going to go, and how serious are these objections, and are the way that they're presenting them? Does it sound like a valid objection on their part, or does it sound like they're just trying to beat you up on something?
Yeah, it's probably starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
So not really good there.
So guys, real quick, I don't want to interrupt, but my partner in this, Ursh, has been in stealth mode all night because she can't turn her speakers on or talk at this point due to disturbing others. She's going to exit out, so she just wants to take off without just disappearing. So Ursh, thank you very much for being here today and helping out with everything leading up to this.
Bye, Ursh. There's Paul Higgins. He's got his camera on.
Good morning,
So
buddy.
So quiet.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. Do you have a sales
yeah.
question? You got what are you dealing with? You got any sales issues, questions, ops?
I've got. I reckon selling to salespeople is the hardest sale.
That's the easiest sell. Salespeople are pushovers.
No, they see it. They see it coming. They see it coming.
They can, yeah. If it's a little salesy, they can see it. When I deal with salespeople, I just tell them, "I'm going to sell you something. You're buying something. Like, I know you're a sales guy, so you're probably a pushover. I'll show you a lot of value. But yeah, the pitch is coming. The pitch is coming. What would you like to talk about before I pitch you? You know? Let's just put it on the table, right? Just put it on the table. Hey, you're a sales guy. I'm a sales guy. I want you to buy my bag of crap. You want to sell me your bag of crap? Let's talk about it. Like, what do you want to get out of this conversation? You know,
they usually cut straight to the chase then and go, okay, what are you going to deliver for me? What's the ROI on this, basically?
So flip it on them. We were just talking about this earlier. ROI, great question. Boom, boom, boom. Can handle that. Let's talk about COI. Let's talk about cost of inaction.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how much time you're wasting by calling Paul Higginses around the world and asking them, you know, what are you going to do and how much is it? So, and then I would bring up like the playbook that I use. You know, I'd give them a playbook. Here, this is all about us. Here's our pricing model. This is all how we work. You know, if they're asking you that question right off the bat, I just back them up a little bit and be like, whoa, like first we got to pick some stuff, you know, let's back up and do some discovery. Let's go with strategy rather than tactic.
Is there a quick mental exercise you can do to get them to a number where you go, yeah, if I walk away today, if you don't start today, or when did this first happen? Oh, that was 3 months ago. So 3 months you've been looking for someone. And what's that problem again? And is there a way to extract a number where you go, well, this has already cost you 20K?
Yeah. What do you typically pay yourself? You know, well, I'm on salary. I make 10 grand a month. Okay. You work 40 hours a week? Yeah, I work about 40 hours a week. You do some math. How much time do you think you've spent on the phone with people like me? How about emails? How about Facebook? How about asking others? How, you know, you go through all that and go, I'd be willing to say you probably wasted about 3 grand of your time so far, maybe 4. This is a headache for you. You know, let's figure it out. You don't have to look anymore. You found the right person. Now let's make sure we put you on the right bus in the right seat. That's all we need to do.
That's a good one. Like that.
Yeah. That's what I do for my clients is I make sure they get on the right bus and I put them in the right seat. That's my job, period. We drive the bus. That's my bus that I'm putting you on. So I'm not your employee, right? We're going to work together as partners, but I'll make sure you're in the right spot. And that's the spot we're going to use to get you down the road. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love that. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's always, I find it's always, strengthens the argument if there's a number you can attach to action or inaction or, you know, cost benefit thing. If you can quantify it, it kind of brings it home for them.
Yeah, figure, you know, what's the lifetime value of a new customer?
Yeah.
How many customers are you missing because we didn't do XYZ? You know, just guess, you know, use their math. Like I never do math for them. I make them do the math. And that way it's their number. They came up with it. They can't blame me later, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
Good one. Good question, Paul.
All righty. Well, this is all set up to go 90 minutes. I think we've pushed that. We could probably talk another hour on all this. And so we'll probably have to have Jonathan back at some point, which we'd love to have him back. Jonathan, how do people get a hold of you?
You can just Google my name. You actually can. So actually I used to have business cards that I'd go to Starbucks and I'd buy the first 15 coffees. And my business card said, Google Jonathan Hinshaw. That was it. So I'll just give you guys some links. There's I put a lot of content on our Facebook page. That's a great place to go. I don't have the small URL yet, but we're going to be putting a lot of stuff on YouTube. So follow us there. You guys have probably already seen revenuelove.com. I'll put my email address here. So yeah, you can reach, Facebook, email, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you guys are comfortable with, you can reach out. I'm always around. Email is probably the longest way, because if you send me an email, it might take a day or two, but Facebook comments are coming in all the time, so I watch those a lot. So yeah, however you like reaching out, reach out.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for showing up and being here today. We're actually, for those of you that are new, we used to do this once a month on the second Tuesday. Now we're going to be doing Agency Tribe on the second Monday and the fourth Monday every month. Got to look at my calendar to think of that. And we really would like people to interact in the Facebook group if you can, post stuff, answer questions. We'd love that. Ursh had to take off, but she's my other half in this, and she does a ton of work in meetings like this and behind the scenes, way more than I do, I think. So I want to make sure I thanked her for this. So, but if you want to watch this recording, it'll probably be posted tomorrow by the time I get done getting it up on YouTube and stuff. But I'll put it in the group and it'll be up on YouTube for eternity.
It's going to go viral.
Yeah. I'd love to see that, Jonathan, but thanks a lot for joining us. And
thanks for having me. It was awesome. You guys have a great day. Now you can go sell something.
That's the plan.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good day, y'all. Thank you.
Yeah.